across as I said at the beginning of this talk. She was a single mother with her children, and every time a venture failed, she moved on to the next one, using whatever tool she has. Like she has this, like some kind of magic charm that she used to treat children who were not well. So whatever that came to her, so to me that's resilience, that's resourcefulness, all the things that women need. If you are single and in a land where you've got no other kid, no support system. You do not know the language, you do not know the customs, you have so little. But whatever little she had, look what came out of Ravi, So despite that failure, you can call it failure, to me it's not failure. With whatever means she had, she managed to get something out of herself and her children. Okay? So I think it's sad that I read some papers where people saw her as being, like enlightened at the end. Even though she died, like the way she died, the way she sort of, you could see she was wasted at the end of it. But some if you were to read this level of the end of your suffering is the beginning of your enlightenment. So you see the way she suffered, but at the end of it, there's enlightenment for her. This is one perspective you could read it. Some people see, when you read women characters, you can see women as having agency or no agency. For example, you have nothing, but you have agency to make something out of yourself. So to me, she had agency, with whatever little she had. More agency than, say, Ravi's mother herself. Karubi had agency. In a devious sort of way, she wanted Ravi to have an education, English education, and she, through trick or through, intellect, she managed to persuade her husband to give Ravi that education, that kind of education, where he was able to get out of that kind of poverty. So, even though Pradata didn't get out of poverty, but she provided, I think, her children with that sense of resourcefulness and resilience. Okay?
I remember my late grandmother, whenever she had beautiful durian, delicious durian, she would actually, collect them and put it in a basin that I later made jokes with when I compiled my own durians, I collected my own and put it in a somehow shallow, digging hole. So my mother later on, my late mom later thought that it was harimau that gathered the durian. Anyway, the story that I'd like to share is my grandmother used to believe that if I plant a durian tree today, I might not enjoy it because it'll take years of that durian to grow and harvest fruit. I might not enjoy it, but it's my grandchildren, my children is going to enjoy the harvest. So that's an analogy of what Prof was saying just now. The hardship that one generation undergo is actually not to benefit itself, its generation, but for the future of the next. Yeah, lovely. Thank you. That was on characters. If I were to ask about the themes, still on Prof today, hot. Okay. If I were to ask about the themes of the novel, what would they be, Prof? Is it still relevant? Because this is a 1981 publication. We are now in 2023. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really relevant. I don't know how many are your friends from China, they come here. And you need resilience, resourcefulness, you know. We have, you know, Chinese Malaysians, but it is, I think it is still hard to fit in. Yeah, because Malaysian Chinese cook differently from, say, the way you cook. There are many things different, because I've got a number of Chinese students I supervise for their patients. I used to supervise. So they find life quite different here. I said, and if you know of this novel by Cash Orr, Billionaire, it's about Chinese, so this what we call triply diasporic. So their parents came to Malaya, and now these grandchildren have gone back to Shanghai. So, you know, but even though so they're Chinese, with Chinese background, but they found Shanghai as difficult, more difficult than their grandparents being in Malaya at that time. So, and this is Cash Orr published this in 2015, 2016. So and nowadays where traveling is made so much easier. So many, some of you may decide to leave Malaysia, or you know, or some of you may decide to leave Malaysia. And in Malaysia itself, we don't talk about three races, Chinese, Malay, Indians. We talk about super diversity. We've got Nepalese, Bangladeshis, Indonesians, Vietnamese, Myanmaris. So it's not just the three races. So, and disconnections happen, you know. So therefore, like my son said, he wants to upload himself. He said, I want to do work in England. So I said, why do you leave me here? You know, but this is, especially now, people travel all the time. I just read yesterday about a Singaporean girl who decided to say, I want to live in New Zealand for a year. And she did that. She found it hard. I don't know whether you read it. Yeah, she found it hard, but so these are things you can do. You know, you can, these are experiences that will enrich you. You may not live there permanently, you may live there part of your life, but it's all enriching. So so you say I'm reading a 1980 work, 1981, and whether it's relevant to me, it is relevant. Whatever problems that Marietta, Naina, Ravi experience, you will experience some of it when you go outside of your homeland to some, maybe a few coastlands. Okay?
Thank you. I got the idea just now, but it looked positive. Hold on. Yes. Packing up, you know, and then leaving. I remember when I pack up and leave for Terengganu, people ask me, wow, you're so comfortable in KL. What? You're not young, you know. So yeah, it's not easy to pack, unpack, start anew. But that's the beauty of this modern world these days that we're living in. Yeah, that it's so easy, you know, to connect, to unconnect, to connect, reconnect. It's because we're sharing one world, and of course the internet is helping us to understand one another. Thank you very much, Prof. Let's move on to round 2, where we will be talking more on conflict and symbols. Dr. Fadli. Back to Ravi and his conflict. How would you describe his conflict with Miss Nancy, the teacher? Is this a common experience with young learners?
Alright, okay, thank you. Before I go into this, I like how just now Prof. Ruti and Dr. Anita has actually related the story to their mothers and grandmothers. And I think that is something that we should try to practice later on when we want to teach students. Because at the end of the day, everybody needs the same book. Everybody will get the info about Ravi. Alright, everything is there already. But what makes your class or your lesson important and meaningful is that how they relate to outside the book. Because you have to understand, whatever that they say is, if it's found in the book, is direct understanding. But the moment they try to relate with their mothers, their experience, it means that they have to be able to connect something that is outside and then relate it, come back to the book, which is a higher level of understanding. So when you get that student, then you understand if this student is able to interpret, understand, and also connect the story. So sometimes it's not just about the story, because everybody can read the summary, everybody can read the characters breakdown. But what we look for is something that is not in the book. So the only way for you to understand that is when you relate to your stories. Okay. So what was the question again? Okay.
The teacher conflict.
The teacher conflict. Okay. Alright. I think about the conflict or things that are told in the book is only one aspect, I think, that is in the life of Ravi. But when you look at the conflict between Miss Nancy, I think this one is a very good example of how we are dealing with in our daily life. You know, you will always have people coming to you, telling you what to do, telling you that it's not right, telling you you're supposed to do like this, like that. Alright? So I think Miss Nancy, the relationship is more than just a teacher and a student. Alright? Because the teacher, Miss Nancy, is asking Ravi to stop doing things that he is used to doing. Alright? Something that the family have been doing all this while, which includes what do you call it? The coconut oil, washing the hair. It's not washing the hair, it's putting Alright, up until now I don't know why. I don't know why. But do I do it sometimes? Sometimes. Yeah, because I think that I don't really understand the reason behind it, because maybe because it becomes a culture, or I tend to get persuaded on TikTok, you know, seeing all the rambut lebat and all that. Right? So I think benda tu biasa. It is a common thing. It's just that it becomes tense or it becomes a conflict when people start to voice out. Why do you do like that? Why do you keep doing like this? You're supposed to do like this. You know? When people ask you to do according to what they want. So I think Miss Nancy is a symbol or a representation of that kind of mindset. So I think that's why for a little boy named Ravi, I pity him. Because, you know, just imagine a boy who grows up in a family who has been doing that all the time. And then when you go to school, you see another person, you meet another person, and that person has the audacity to tell you that, come and brush your teeth. Change your hairstyle. So I think that is something, I don't know, maybe it can be a turning point for everybody, for individuals to become better, or you try to accept the fact that you go to English school, you have to follow certain rules. So I think that point is also a point of realization, because when you go back, when you meet, Ravi goes to the shop and buys toothpaste and toothbrush, alright? And then he is also being, not being mocked, but by the cashier, the person who says that Indian has white bright teeth, alright, so why do you need a toothbrush and all that? But these are the things or a portrayal that wherever you go, there will be people who comment and all that. I remember, just to relate this story to my experience, last time when I was still flying, I got offered to teach in Kelantan. Okay? So being me who wanted to explore this Kelantan side, I went to Kelantan, and I was teaching in University Malaysia Kelantan. So I heard that University Malaysia Kelantan only accepts Kelantanese, and I have 1% fluent. So when I went there, I was treated really bad. I was treated as an outsider. I was harassed. I was like, all that. By whom? By the woman. By the ladies, right? So Kelantanese, they have really strong characters when it comes to female characters. So I could not stand that. Then after 3 months, I called back Malaysia Airlines and they get me on the next. Okay, I want to go back to private. So I think it's understood when you go into a new surroundings of people with different vision, they will try to share that vision with you, right? With the hope that you accept or you want to change. Because whenever I tell I go and talk to my mom, then my mom will always say, if you can't feed them, join them. If you don't like it, then you change school, for example. But in this case, the act that Rafi tries to follow, it shows that he is willing to try and embrace this different kind of background. So I think because of him agreeing to go and buy the toothpaste and doing the changes, the result is when he continues his studies and then he becomes a better person. Right? So sometimes the change is not that bad, but it depends on the individual. Okay? So I think Miss Nancy has actually helped to actually move that and also change his perspective on certain things. So nasib baik tu Miss Nancy lah.
How about symbols, Doctor? Any particular symbols that strike you?
Okay, symbols. What is the definition of symbols? What are symbols? Symbols are things that represent another meaning or a newer meaning. It means that when you look at symbols, you yourself as reader, you have to understand the meaning. Alright? Because I cannot be the one saying that okay, the symbols are like this. But if you cannot see it, you cannot understand, you will forever see it as whatever that is presented in the text. Alright? So that's why I ask people first, okay, what are the symbols that caught your attention? Because sometimes it will be the same, most of the time it will be different, because we have different kind of understanding or people, we have different level of interpretation. Okay, the first thing that I think it is a symbol is the character of Priyantai. Okay, the grandmother, the big mother, the grandmother. Okay, if you look in the book, she was described as a what? Single mom, and then the introduction. I think I read it. I don't know in the book or in some articles. It says that she was seen as a camel. 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 Okay, camel. Okay, that is a symbol actually. Because this is after many readings, right? So I don't blame you if you cannot see the same as what I see, but after several readings, I think the symbol or the image of camel, it means something. Alright, if you look at camel, you're not talking about physical. Okay, symbol, it means that the symbol of camel with the two humps at the back. Right? So those are baggages. It means that she is coming here to Malaya with baggages. So the baggages can be in form of the three sons, her own baggage, the clothes and all that. And also the identity, the culture, the roots, everything is in this baggage behind her. So as she is going or coming to Malaya, she is bringing these two humps with her. Right? And then another way that you can look at it is the hump. What is inside the hump? Water. Right? So that's why camel, they don't have to drink, but they can still survive because they have the hump behind them. Okay? So I think that's why we see that the Priyantai doesn't really actually, we don't see her journey a lot. Right? She is there. She is moving people. Alright, so I think the symbol of a camel, it can make sense. Some might agree, some might disagree. It's okay, but that's how I see it. Because you don't simply call people like, she looks like a camel. Okay, but nowadays everything is possible, right? Okay, and then another thing that I see the symbol is the use of language. Right, language represents. Okay, what does language represent? Could be identity, a culture. Okay, I remember my roommate when I was in UIA. My roommate was a Perak kid. Okay, and then the first month I met him, he was speaking fully British accent, like okay, and I had hard time to understand. And then there's this one time he was speaking to me, and then suddenly somebody called, and then he picked up the phone and said, "Ate, itu." What's that? Okay, so he spoke in Perak accent. So sometimes when you speak British accent, it represents something else. You're intellectual. You have this high class and all that. But I think that the use of the language is a symbol in the text, and you can see that there are some usage of Malay words, some Tamil English, and then you have some broken English. So all these are clues and also input for us when we read. Right? There must be a reason why the author does not want to translate certain words. Right? There must be a reason why an author writes in a very poor grammatical structure. Because you have to understand, literature has
three ways of
three ways.
being related to text, text to self, text to the world, text to another text.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So I think that's a good approach. But I remember my last time my professor, Prof. Koyu, he told me that in the first class, literature has three purposes, three E's: to educate, to entertain, and also to enhance. What do you enhance? You enhance your own worldview. You also enhance whatever that you read. Right? So when you read, you don't get anything out of it, then there must be something wrong with the way that you read. Okay, so I think there are symbols. For example, the symbols of the school, right? The preference. I remember when I came back, my dad put me in a boarding school. I don't know why. I put that. Then I went there for 7 months. So I went to MCKK for 6 months. Only 6 months. I just wanted 6 months. And then I was an old boy for the rest of my life. But nobody knew what happened in MCPK. I was bullied every day and all that. But having gone to this kind of school, it gives you all the advantages, right? So I understand why some schools, like some of you are all first year, right? No,
Yes.
some of you, most of you are. Okay, some of you are very proud of your high school up until now. I don't know why you still wearing your high school PJ shirt, your tracksuit bottom, you have this really tree, all this, right? But it is a symbol. It is a symbol of what you represent in school. Right? I believe that this book, of course, the first reading I don't understand anything, but as you grow older and you become mature in terms of seeing things in life, then the book is really, really good, right? But I'm not asking or telling you to read when you do your PhD. You have to read it now, alright? Like it or not, you have to try and make sense because the symbols are plentiful in the novel.
Dr. Fatih, just now when you were saying about language, how it asserts identity, language can also serve as a form of resistance. Instead of coming to or what is dictated as correct, So for you to write an English novel, you're supposed to write all in English. So the moment you say no, I'm gonna narrate it using the way I want to do it, I'm actually resisting. I'm actually trying to say that, hey, this is another option. This is another alternative to telling the story. Yeah. So in a way, yes, Maniam is also providing a resistance to what should be a proper novel. What would be a proper storytelling? Okay, thank you very much, Doctor.
I'm keeping the last.
For the best. I love this question the most. So, Doctor, what do you think about symbols that cross racial differences? Yes. Cross racial differences. Do you think young learners at secondary school level will be able to appreciate these cultural symbols when they are limited in their experiences?
Okay, I believe that when you are dealing with especially young learners, sometimes they come with a blank canvas, meaning that they don't really study literature at home. So when they come to you, they are supposed to learn a lot from the teachers, especially when it comes to learning literature and novels and all that. And I think there will be some symbols or some themes that will include certain cultural elements, like, especially racial and all that. And I think it would be good for us to understand first. When we are teaching or when we are explaining, we have to understand the landscape of our classroom. Right? Some students right now, nowadays, they are very, very up to date. They are very much more exposed than all of us. Okay, so sometimes, usually when I go and visit schools and see teachers teaching, especially teacher, what I see that they will ask the students to explain first, so that they will know the level of understanding. Because you don't want to actually, change whatever that is being taught by them. Because I remember my older sister, when she went to kindergarten, last time I was in Suwanja, Tinkerbell, then she came back, and then when we were eating, she was saying to my dad and all that, let's say a prayer. And my dad said, say a prayer, look down. And then my dad said, why? Oh, because that is what is being told and taught in Tinkerbell. Alright, so I think whatever that we say becomes a culture, because they believe you, or whatever that you say, they think that it is the best thing. So I think when it comes to racial and also cultural understanding, it is good for them because they are learning, right? But whatever is being taught to them must go through a proper level of understanding. Because I think that what Prof said, that in Malaysia we don't have really like Indians, Chinese, and Malay per se, right? It's all like Malaysian. But I think there's a beauty in it. There's also a disadvantage. Like last time, I had this conference, and then there's this one lecturer, a senior lecturer. She came with satay. Then she came and gave everybody, and then she was giving to this one Indian professor. So she said, satay. And then the Indian professor said, it's okay. Satay. Then the Indian professor said, it's okay. He said, no, satay, please eat that, eat. And the professor said, it's beef. Then he changed everything. And the room went quiet. And then, so everybody blamed the senior lecturer because she was not sensitive. But when you think from this aspect, we are all Malaysians, so maybe the professor will say, it's okay, it's okay, I will just stop at that. But I know it's hard to actually differentiate the races and then it comes to religion and all that. But I think it's worth exploring and worth talking, because if we don't do that, then we will never understand the diversity that we have, right? So what's what do you call it? When you draw the line when it comes to religion and all that? Because I understand, I have another friend who is a Chinese, and then he got sick one day. For 1 week, he was sick. And then it turns out he was homesick, but he could not go back to Kedah, I think. And then I said, okay, what can we help? And he said, I want bak kut teh. And I said, okay. So I want to eat bak kut teh. And then so my friend he took a bowl and then he ate bak kut teh. The day after it was all good. So sometimes it's the cultural what do you call it? Yeah, you just have to have that. If it's like noodle ramen, it's not, because you have to understand the power of it. So it goes both ways. I think if you can understand the sensitivity and the diversity of culture, they will help to understand. For example, in the return, a lot of it is about the Indian culture, right? So maybe for the foreigners or the international readers, it will be hard for them to understand, right? But it is also hard for us to understand as locals, because we don't really go into their culture and their way of living. So it is all a learning process. So I think every day when you read, you tend to understand more and understand better. Okay. All right.
That was the reason why I picked this novel. I wanted to introduce another cultural group to non-Malaysians actually, because mind you, for both of you, I think for your information, this semester, this intake consists of more than 50 students, correct me, Dr. Azina, 50 students from China, the biggest ever number from China. And so I wanted to provide another option for them to know one part of Malaysia. Yeah, so, and for the fact that I I too am not versed on Indian culture, that I wanted to understand more. Alright, so that's it guys, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we started sometime around 9:48 and my watch now shows 10:51, and it has been a lot of fun, a lot of input, all provided to you in a very sun-tight manner, laid-back manner. I love it. I don't know how you feel, but for me, it has been a fruitful discussion over one novel, K.S. Maniam, The Return. This book was once an obligatory reading, titled for school students. Just to wrap up, a 10-second, 15-second spontaneous remarks about bringing it back to the syllabus and making everyone to read it. Any thoughts, Prof?
10 to 15 seconds.
Okay, I chair the syllabus for the Form 6. STM. Okay, so I decide with my committee what text should be introduced. So he is in our place, but not the novel, short stories. So I think he is he's a canonical writer in Asian literature, the tradition of Asian literature in English. So you cannot go away having done Asian literature in English and not read K.S. Maniam. It's not really Shakespeare. When you do English literature, you do not know Shakespeare at all. So it's that kind of stature that he has. So you must try and read and enjoy. He's not an easy writer to understand, but the wealth of information he provides to us via the issues that he presents through his text will give you, deeper understanding of the conflicts and challenges of Indians in Indonesia, which until today have not settled. Okay. Prof, betul? Dr. Fadli?
I think it will be a good approach to actually maintain this kind of books, because some might say that it's not fun, it's not entertaining, but you have to understand why is it placed in school. Right? In school we have to learn, we have to understand the bigger picture of it. And I think being part of the reader for this kind of literature, I am very proud of it, because after, once you go out of school, then you tend to look at these names again, K.S. Maniam, Shirley Lloyd Fernando, all these are big names. So, understanding their book is actually understanding their background. And understanding their background, you understand the whole literature scene. Right? So, always think the long term. Right? And I think books like this are, of course, it's hard, but I would prefer reading this than historical book, because it gives me more room to actually venture out and be creative. So, but the most important thing is you have to read it. How you read it, or what kind of book, it's up to you, but you have to read it. Only then you will understand what is actually being put in the book and the message behind it. Okay?
With that, ladies and gentlemen, I end this book discussion. I hope everyone is cool from this session. Okay, this is a model for any book discussion that any ESL teacher wishes to carry out in the classroom. I hope it has enlightened you in one way or another. So back to you, Saudari Nur Shahira and Saudari Nur Alia.